back at WNST, Towson, Baltimore, and Baltimore Positive. Yes, I'm doing crab cakes, all presented by the Maryland Lottery. We're back out in my homeland of Dundalk. We're going to be at Drug City, rented a lot of videotapes, bought baseball cards and wrestling magazines there. We'll be at the Fountain on Friday. It's all brought to you by the Maryland Lottery in conjunction with our friends at Goodwill, helping people up here through the Halloween holiday, and our friends at Window Nation. You buy two, you get two free, 866-90Nation. Been waiting to have this guy on. He comes on at the Super Bowl. Quite frankly, he comes on anytime I ask. His folks hit me, and I'm like, do I want Leigh Steinberg on at the trading deadline 5 minutes after the Ravens trade for Roquan Smith? Yes, I do. Leigh, how the heck are you, man? How are things out in the Marina del Rey?
Happy Halloween.
Well, I didn't wear an outfit, and you didn't wear an outfit here, but let's put the outfits of agents on at this point. This is a nervous time for players, right? Like, if you're Roquan Smith and the phone rings, and he's apparently self-represented as well, like preparing a player for the call's going to come on a trading deadline, that wasn't something NFL agents had to worry so much. It was more of a baseball or a basketball or a hockey thing, right?
The big tradition in baseball and basketball is for multiple trades, not so much in football, and normally around the draft. So it's not been that large a trading sport. And normally, if it was going to happen and you were representing a player, you had advance notice. The general manager or coach would tell a player that they were contemplating this, so it wasn't a big surprise.
Well, we've changed a lot. What do you think has spurred trading in the league? I mean, is this something where they got together and thought this will be good for the league? Because for years and years, it apparently, and I always thought it was a system issue. You bring a player in, he doesn't know terminology, how quickly, it's not like, hey, you're pitching here or you're hitting play left field. A little bit different, not a little bit, a lot different in football when it comes down to preparing a game plan to go play the Saints this week.
I think teams like the Rams set the trend because they knew they had specific needs. And so they went out and traded for players that filled a specific need. And they traded away draft picks to get this defensive back or this defensive end. And they did it over and over and over again. And they won the Super Bowl. It worked for them. So it's the whole philosophy that getting a proven veteran to fill a specific need and being able to spot that need during the season, much more a baseball concept, but I think it certain teams started to use it, or you saw a team like the Arizona Cardinals pick up tight end in the middle of a season. So it's lifted from another sport, but it's been effective.
Well, the Ravens will be playing with Roquan Smith, and they have Lamar Jackson. And Leigh, I mean, you've been an agent so long, going back to Steve Bartkowski, and I was the first guy to get the number Red 7 at the Sears and Roebuck on Merritt Boulevard down there back in about 78 or 79. So, the marketing of players, and obviously we can go through Jerry Maguire and all that stuff. You and I have known each other a long time, but representing yourself, is there any point where you could recommend such an act, having represented all these players, that players, and especially in Lamar's situation where he's head of class, that whatever level of sophistication and knowledge that you've spent the better part of 50 years honing your craft, that you couldn't be helpful in some way to craft a player a better deal or a better structured deal? Can you impress upon me the value that if Lamar Jackson were my kid, why I would need a representative, if not you, someone of your ilk, to represent me in negotiating a $250 million deal?
Well, first of all, if he's happy with this situation, I'd be the last person to judge him. Everyone makes their own choices, but I don't represent myself when I'm doing book deals or movie deals. It's too close. It's hard to represent yourself. It's hard to present your best talents. It's hard to be that immodest, and it's hard to hear comments that are made about yourself and to be dispassionate. And in this case, the hardest thing to find in football and the most critical thing in a quarterback-centric league is to find a franchise quarterback. And let's define that as someone a team can build around for 10 to 12 years, can win because of rather than with, and someone who, in critical circumstances, in adversity, throwing a couple interceptions, the crowd is booing, the game's getting out of hand. Can that player compartmentalize, adopt a quiet mind, and elevate his level of play in critical situations to take a team to and through victory? Without that player, it's very difficult to get through the playoffs and to the Super Bowl. And Baltimore has one. They clearly have one. They have a player who's been most valuable player in the league. So there's no question that Lamar Jackson is a franchise quarterback. And with those players, there's generally very little controversy in a contract negotiation. That's the player that you take care of first. And it's really simple. It's just a matter of looking at comparative contracts. In this case, is it Deshaun Watson? Is it Aaron Rodgers? Who are the comparables? And just slotting the player into that. And every new contract's a little bigger than the ones that came before it, and goes farther. And those contracts tend to be guaranteed for skill and injury. So it's surprising in this case that that contract is simply not done. And I don't know the behind the scenes issues, but there's nothing left for Lamar Jackson to prove. And this is the case where a team wants to sign the quarterback. They don't want instability or controversy at that position. And once they sign the quarterback, it gives them the ability to say to the rest of the players, you see, if you perform like Lamar Jackson, we will reward that.
Does there come a point, Leigh, where, and I've used the dating terminology of, been dating a girl 3-4 years, you don't put a ring on it. There comes a point where you think, well, maybe this Valentine's Day, and then it comes and goes, and then all of a sudden it's never going to happen. And in the case of the NFL, and I guess we go back to Eli Manning affecting a draft position or saying, I don't want to play there. There haven't been a lot of cases, and the NBA's obviously become a league of I want to play, I'm taking my talents to City X, that Lamar may be best served for Lamar's purposes, for tax purposes, to play the field a little bit and find himself in a Tampa Bay uniform with a better Florida tax situation, and or someone that's going to guarantee that money. I mean, you've been in on the front lines after Patrick Mahomes wins big games trying to get the deal that Deshaun Watson got and getting that kind of guaranteed money. Now that that's out there, I would think that that's something for everyone in your position to make sure that that is the beginning point of the next contract and not what it's been portrayed as an outlier.
I haven't heard anything ever to indicate that Lamar Jackson's unhappy where he is. And he seems very popular with his teammates. He has a great supporting cast. He seems happy with his coach. There's no indication. And these players, forget Tom Brady, he had played forever in the same place. But quarterbacks tend to want to stay in a place where they know the system. They're familiar with everything. He's very popular where he is. There's no indication that he'd like to do anything but stay where he is for his career. And most quarterbacks would like to do that. So,
but he has turned down a significant amount of money, right? I mean, that's well reported. There's a lot of money that's been offered that he's like, nah, that's not good enough. At what point is it good enough? You've been the one in the room to know when's enough for him would say the guy in Cleveland got that, right? And that's been a landmark thing for everyone in your industry. I heard Steve Bisciotti yelling about it down in Florida in March after it happened, that they knew this was going to greatly affect their ability for Lamar and everyone after Lamar.
Well, each contract builds on the contract before, because what happens is they just did a new television contract. And in the midst of a cratered economy and a pandemic, Fox increased its bid over the last record-breaking contract by 83%. CBS increased their bid over the last contract by 83%. So the television money, which is the major part of television revenue, continues to grow and grow. That means you'll see even exponentially larger contracts over time because all that money goes to the salary contract. So the last thing I want to do is get involved in someone else's contract negotiation. But what I'm telling you is that ultimately, if you have a franchise very happy with its quarterback and a quarterback very happy with the franchise, a deal will happen.
A deal will happen. I like your confidence. Leigh Steinberg joining us here from California. He's getting ready for we talk about having an age or not having an age. If I was in his position or if he were my family member, I'd say absolutely call Steinberg, call some people, pick the one you like. In your particular case, you're always out educating other agents and you've stepped out of the industry, back into the industry. Obviously, you have people at the top of class every year. I see you come through with folks at the Super Bowl. You're always out there in college football season here, but you're doing an event here later on this month as well, right?
We're doing an agent academy in Las Vegas, November 13, 14, which we've done about 25 times before. And it helps young people who are interested in the field learn how to negotiate, how to recruit clients, how to brand and market those clients, how to build a charitable foundation, how to help a client in crisis. And you have the ability to go over to the Raiders facility, and the GM, Dave Ziegler, will talk about his job. And we're trying to bring along a new generation of ethical, principled agents who have skills in the area. You can go to steinbergspeaks.com and sign up for them. We've done them all over the country, and it's jump-started the career of many young people. So it's a way to get specific training and to find out how to do it from some of the best in the field.
Leigh, you come on a lot, and we've talked over years about quarterbacks and history and all this stuff. You've branched out, and I've been to many of your Super Bowl parties, and I still go back to the one about 15 years ago in Miami where you brought that big tank in that filtered water right out of the Miami harbor and was drinking water. And you've tried to do all of these incredible charitable things.
Well,
But
that one went to Haiti and provided purified drinking water in the aftermath of the hurricane and saved people from cholera.
yeah, I mean, you're always doing stuff, but in all sincerity, we're Facebook friends, and I saw you with all these little resistor looking things on your head. Looked like something out of a movie that you were in, or you were getting a good shampoo. I don't know what it was, but it said Nestor, Nestre. Maybe I'm pronouncing it, or Nestre, whatever it is. And I thought, next time Leigh and I get together, I'm going to be asking him about all this brain health and awareness, because as I'm getting older, I feel like I need to stay sharper to stay up with the young people.
So the question was, could you stimulate performance in players at critical moments in games? Could you return players to service quicker? Could you make an impact on concussed brains? And then for the rest of us, could you stimulate memory and get faster cognitive processing? So Nestor is brain training, which is done in Orlando, Florida. There's another process called RTMS that stimulates the brain. And then we have hyperbaric oxygen, stem cells, something called light stems. So there are these huge breakthroughs in stimulating the brain, having it come back from concussion. Hyperbaric releases energy, as does light stem. And so these biomed breakthroughs are going to allow athletes to have better performance, come back quicker from injury, and for the rest of us, heal a concussed brain and be able to have better memory, and better cognitive performance for longer.
What has your experience been with it? Because you're in the program, right? You're not just a spokesperson. You're in it, right?
Like the hair clipper man. Uh, yes, and so, for example, they asked if I was having any cognitive problems, and I said, I can see the picture of an athlete, a political figure, a movie star, and I can tell you everything about them. I'm just having a hard time processing their name. They looked up on the screen and they said, here's the center of neural processing of names and faces. And they said, you got a little block here, which is a blue line. And we worked on it for 6 days. The block was gone. And all of a sudden, I could remember names and faces really quickly.
I'm glad you always remember my name and face, Lee, and I appreciate you coming on. How's Patrick Mahomes, man? Every time I see him in a commercial, he's got the little mustache going, and poor Andy Reid's trying not to get caught on the airplane, and um, and obviously the Manning brothers and different people have made these commercials fun through the course of years, and Aaron Rodgers has his thing, but Patrick Mahomes, I see him as much as anyone, and I'm sure you get some scripts, or he gets some scripts and says, "Nah, we're not going to do that one." But he has been a good face for the league, certainly.
Well, if you like him on the field, you'd love him off the field because he's grounded, considerate of other people. All of the fame and fortune which he's gotten hasn't changed him at all. He's a very nice, considerate person with a big heart.
Well, his dad was a nice, considerate person when I covered baseball back in the day, so I do remember that. Lee, take care of yourself. Stay healthy out there. I hope to see you out in Phoenix for my 29th consecutive Super Bowl, but time will tell if the NFL media press gods will allow such a thing like me around. But I always
Well,
appreciate you making time.
you are welcome at our 36 or 37 Super Bowl party. We took a minor league baseball stadium, so it'll be a lot of fun.
All right, if there's a chance Earl Campbell will sit on my lap again, I'll be there, Lee.
Earl Campbell will be there.
If he's there, I'm there. Leigh Steinberg joins us from Steinberg Sports, always representing players and more than that, great causes as well. And, we all saw the Jerry Maguire thing, but it's always great for Lee to stop by and say hello. I'm doing the Maryland Crab Cake Tour this week. Back in the homeland of Dundalk, we'll be at the Fountain at Drug City, giving away some Raven scratch offs. I still have a handful of these left. We're going to have some Game of Lifers as well. Our friends at Goodwill and Window Nation bringing it all together. We call them Wise Conversations. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore positive.